Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Schwartz. I'm the sales director here at Legg Mason. And I'd like to share with you today what I think is probably one of our best ideas, the ClearBridge Aggressive Growth Fund, which is run by legendary portfolio manager Richie Freeman, who is actually celebrating 30 years on the fund, alongside his partner Evan Bauman, who's been with them for about 17 years. But before I get into that, I wanted to share a quick story. I recently just got back from vacation, and I needed a good book to read on the beach. So I went down to my wife's bookshelf, and my choice of authors were J.K. Rowling, E.L. James, and Malcolm Gladwell. So ultimately I went with a book that I had previously read a few years ago, and I wanted to share a quote from that book. We need to prepare ourselves for the possibility that sometimes big changes follow from small events, and that sometimes these changes can happen very quickly. Can anybody tell me what book this is from?
Tipping Point.
Is that? The other one.
Tipping Point.
Yes, thank you. Obviously, this quote means different things to different people, okay? And our clients would think about tipping points a lot differently than we would. But even within this room, you guys all have your own opinions about what 2014 will mean for the markets and for your own portfolios. Rising rates, Obamacare, GDP growth, these things can all tip the market one way or another. There's also a tipping point for each one of you when you go back to your desk or you're meeting with a team and you decide to implement a fund you heard about in this room from a wholesaler. Is everyone here familiar with the stock CRE, or the company CRE, I should say? Right? CRE is a fund that a stock that we've had in aggressive growth for about 10 years, and we initiated that position when it was about $10 a share. CRE, more or less, they manufacture LED lights, okay, and they've been selling street lights in the municipal space for many years, but their revenues weren't very strong, and their product was ultimately very expensive. Then this year, or I should say, Richie Freeman actually got a lot of criticism for holding on to this, but ultimately he saw the vision of the management of this company. And earlier this year, CRE announced an exclusive deal with the Home Depot to create a consumer light product. This was their tipping point. Their light bulb is about $10. It'll last for 23 years. So as Richie would say, if you had a 30-year mortgage, you only have to change your light bulb one time. Okay, the stock year to date is up 68%. These are the types of stock stories that are in aggressive growth. Aggressive growth is a very compelling investment because of their private equity-like way of investing. Okay, they focus on companies that are innovative, products and services that have strong balance sheet fundamentals and focus on cash flows. Because of this, a lot of their companies are ripe for takeovers. Okay, the most aggressive thing about the Aggressive Growth Fund is their conviction in the names that they own, and they do take big bets. The top 10 names of the portfolio make up about 50% of the portfolio. Okay? Because of this, they've been able to have tremendous performance for many years, okay, without ever owning Google or Apple, and they actually have 95% active share. I mentioned a minute ago that Richie's celebrating 30 years on the fund. It's pretty special to have a fund with a 30-year track record, let alone a manager that's been on the fund for the entire tenure of the fund. When you go back to your desk this afternoon, I want you to, or I challenge you, I should say, to think about tipping points from your client's point of view. Okay? If you've missed the equity run over the past few years, I don't want you to worry. There's plenty of room to run in this portfolio. And if you don't have this type of asset in your client's portfolio mix, I want to leave you with this. Since 1988, the Aggressive Growth Fund has been top quartile performance for every standardized time period. Richie Freeman is the only portfolio manager on the street that can say this. If you had invested $10,000 with him on day one in 1983, your investment would be worth almost $316,000. And even more impressive, you would have outperformed the Russell 3000, his index, by 98%. So I want to thank you again for your time. When you go back to your desk this afternoon, I hope you take that small event that will lead to your client's tipping point by including the aggressive growth in your portfolio. Thank you.